What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're taking a look at The Invisible Man's Revenge. So the overall storyline for this movie is as follows. An unconventional scientist, played by John Carradine, helps a fugitive, played by John Hall, become invisible, giving him the power to seek revenge on his former friends. So, yeah. The overall story of The Invisible Man's Revenge is just, well, this movie proves that the storyline and the whole concept of The Invisible Man was exhausted by this point. I didn't really care for The Invisible Man's Revenge. I thought this movie was just kind of dull and kind of boring. Yeah, I wasn't really into it. I mean, it wasn't anything like, it wasn't offensively bad or anything. But after you have like the first two movies, which were really good, and then after the second movie, you have two, middle of the road movies, and now you cap it off with a fifth movie. Yeah, the whole novelty of the Invisible Man and the special effects that accompany it. By 1944, I believe, this movie came out. Yeah, by 1944, by this point, The Invisible Man was around for about over a decade. So, yeah, the audience has seen just about everything there is to see when it comes to The Invisible Man. This movie didn't really bring anything new to the table. In terms of performances, John Hall, he once again plays the Invisible Man, but playing a completely different character in Bob Griffin, who is hinted at to be related to the Griffins, but they don't really fully go there, which is weird. Basically, he plays a guy who escapes a psychiatric ward and he wants to get revenge on his friends, and he gets the help from John Carradine, who is a doctor who makes him invisible, pretty much. And then he goes on his crime spree. Nothing really of note. Nothing really all that brutal. Nothing really all that sadistic that this man does. It's like I said, this movie just feels exhausted. I mean, it does have a couple of entertaining scenes here and there. Like, I like the bar scene where he's helping out one of his handlers play darts. That scene was darkly humorous. It's not as slapsticky as The Invisible Woman and not as Invisible Agent. Like, I think the scene goes back to maybe the scene was fine. The dart scene in this movie was okay. And the climax with the Invisible Man taking on a guy called Jasper, because the whole thing is that the Invisible Man needs Jasper's blood in order to be visible again. So they have a mildly entertaining fight scene near the end of the movie, but everything else in this movie is just meh. Like the acting is fine. Evelyn Ankers, who is in this movie, she plays Julie, the love interest for the Invisible Man, who he wants to steal from Jasper. She's okay in the role. John Carradine, I think he's kind of wasted in this thing. He doesn't really have a whole lot to do, with the exception of creating the invisible formula and having this invisible dog, which plays a role in the climax. Other than that, I think John Carradine is kind of wasted, which is a shame, because John Carradine, in terms of the Universal horror movies, he's really good. In this, he's just there. Like, this movie is just like a starring vehicle. It's just needed a big name to fill in a void, and John Carradine was available for work for this movie. He doesn't really do much. Not only that, like I said, the storyline just doesn't have no engagingness to it, and you can tell the actors, they're on autopilot half the time. It's like you can almost sense that no one really wanted to do this movie because they know that what was done was done, and now they're just being forced to do something that they just don't have no passion for. And that's, to me, what The Invisible Man's Revenge feels like. It feels like a movie that's very factory. It doesn't feel like a movie that has a lot of heart put into it. Like the first Invisible Man movie, you can sense there was some heart put into it. Invisible Man Returns with Vincent Price, you can tell there was some heart put into it. Even with Invisible Woman, you can tell that they wanted to do something. And to a lesser extent, Invisible Agent. But once you get to this, like I said, it just doesn't really have anything to offer. The special effects are fine, but after watching all these movies in succession, just like, okay, like, what else you got to show me? Like, the novelty of a man becoming invisible and just doing petty things isn't really engaging. Let's see the Invisible Man do things that are much more, like, dangerous, which we don't really see. Like, no one will ever top what Jack Griffin did in the first movie when he went on a killing spree. They kind of shied away from that as the movies went on, trying to make the Invisible Man more of a sympathetic figure. I mean, this movie tried to make Bob, I think his name was Bob Griffin, a little bit more dangerous, but didn't really cross that line good enough in my estimation. So yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about The Invisible Man Returns. I'm just going to give it a solid 5 out of 10. It's not offensively bad. It's a filler movie and an overall just mediocre climax to the initial Invisible Man franchise. So yeah, 5 out of 10 for The Invisible Man Returns. Let me know your thoughts in the comment for The Invisible Man's Revenge. Let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.